The Drug Alternative Program presents Drugs Close to Home. Your weekly insight into the ongoing stories of struggle, victory, and the spiritual renewal of rehabilitation. Each week, Cliff and Freddie Harris, co-founders of the Drug Alternative Program, would like to introduce you to the many people who have touched their lives through their spirit-filled ministry. But most of all, they would like to share with you the blessings they continue to receive from Jesus Christ. And now, your hosts of Drugs Close to Home, Cliff and Freddie Harris.
Welcome to Drugs Close to Home, a program about the destruction drugs cause our families.
And the power of Jesus Christ to save them. We believe that every life is worth saving, don't we, Wayne?
We do. And every life that's changed is a miracle of God. I am Wayne Dooley. I'm a counselor at the Drug Alternative Program, and this is my lovely wife, Renee Dooley.
And I'm a victim of my husband's past crack addiction. Later on in the program, we're going to have the opportunity to talk about how I was tempted to be codependent.
So today, our subject is codependency. We're going to have a little counseling session with Frank and Pierre. They are present clients of the Drug Alternative Program, and we are going to discuss today codependency. And I want to talk to you, gentlemen, about codependency and how it affects our family members, our loved ones, wives, girlfriends, friends, and what the relationship is with the addict. One of the things about codependency is sometimes it's kind of difficult to describe exactly what codependency is. So I'm going to try to keep it simple. Codependency, as it says, codependency, is simply being dependent on the help and fix and rescue of the addict. That is a person who is codependent. When your life becomes dependent upon helping the addict, that is the problem. So codependency is the person who gets to the point where they are so wrapped up in trying to fix the addict and the person with addiction that they literally start to become dependent upon that act. And so I want to talk a little bit about what the difference is between codependency, or I'm going to use another word, enabling, and actual help, and actual moving in a productive way with the addict. One of the things that we have to keep in mind is that we can't fix anybody. You agree with that?
I agree.
We can't control anybody. So we have to come to the reality that we cannot do the fixing ourselves. As a mother, as a girlfriend, as a wife, you can't do the fixing. But there's going to be a situation, if you're involved in the addict's life, where you're going to realize that you're going to want to do something. You're going to want to do something. So the main and important thing that we have to keep in mind is that there is a difference between rescuing or enabling and helping. Rescuing, helping. And the main difference is that the person who is involved with the addict and loves the addict has to keep in mind that whatever you're doing, it has to help them towards getting help. We don't want to rescue. Well, what does rescue mean? Rescue is basically, well, you've heard the expression, call in the cavalry. The cavalry comes in when everything else is lost and we need help, then the cavalry comes in. So we come in and we rescue. And what rescue simply does that's not productive is rescue tries to alleviate the consequences of the addictive behavior. That makes sense? The addictive behavior has to have consequences. And when the rescuer or the enabler comes in and tries to smooth that out, tries to take that out of their lives, then they just continue in their addictive behavior. And that's not good. You would agree with that, huh?
Yes.
I agree.
Absolutely. So I want to find out from Frank and Pierre, which one did you have in your particular situation, in your addictive experience? Did you have a family member or family members that were enablers, rescuers, or did they not fall into that and help you out? What about that, Frank? What was your experience?
I've experienced both. On my parents' side, I would use my children, my wife. I would say, I'm ran out of gas, Mom, Dad, I need gas, and you need to help me. Can you let me borrow some money or send some money? My children don't have food. The bills, all the money's on the bills, and I need some money. And they would send me money, and I would use that, of course, to drink. But my wife and children, they were helpers. What they did was, if you really need help, then you need to hand over the PIN numbers, the cards, the checkbook, and the car keys. So sometimes I would have the car keys, but I wouldn't have the money. Or sometimes I would have the money, but I wouldn't have the car. So I would go around the house like a ninja, looking everywhere to find either one. But most of the time they were firm towards all the way to the end, and they just refused to hand over either the money or the car. And they told me towards the end, you have a decision to make. Either you go to the streets, go with your parents, or you go to DAP or to alternative drug program. And that's what I got from them.
And what you just described, Frank, is setting boundaries. Very important. We always need to set boundaries when we're dealing with an addictive loved one. Boundaries meaning we have to know when to say no. We have to have certain standards that we live by that the loved one has to also abide by. We cannot fall into just saying yes to anything that they request from us, because what do? We manipulate, don't we? We manipulate. So boundaries are very, very important. We have to have boundaries. Know when to say no. And you described your immediate family, your wife and kids, sound like they had some boundaries for you.
No.
No. And did that help you?
Oh, yes. That's why I'm here today.
Okay.
Because they helped me get here. I prayed, and I would ask them for help, and the only way they knew how was taking away the money and the way of getting to the alcohol, basically.
Now to the enabler, to the rescuer, that sounds like I'm not helping them. That sounds like I'm turning my back on them. And to the addict, who usually is trying to look at a way to manipulate, the worst thing they want to hear is no. They don't want to hear no. And so what happens is they will throw things out like, here's one that you hear all the time. Well, I thought you were a Christian. I thought you were a godly person. What do you mean you won't give me my keys, or you won't let me stay here, or you won't give me any money? I thought you were a Christian.
Or I work for it. I got a job. You know, that money belongs to me also, you know. So
all of those are ways of manipulating.
Yeah, and they would say no.
And they would say no.
No.
You know why? Because they had boundaries. You must have boundaries. because boundaries will help you change your action to the addict so that it's positive and it's helping and not rescuing. What about you, Pierre? What was your experience?
Well, I had codependency. And I would manipulate the situation to the tilt.
Oh.
I would work, I had multiple jobs, and I would spend all my money on drugs, and there'd be no money for food or to do anything for the house. And I would look to my wife, and she would look at me, and she was a homemaker. So the only income was my own. And so I would turn to my mom, and I would manipulate my mom because I knew she loved me. By my actions, I knew I didn't show her love or my wife or my kids or grandkids love. And so where's money going to come from? I knew my mom loved me, and so I would call her, and I would first lie and say, well, I don't have any money. And she knew when I got paid. She knew I had multiple jobs. She knew, well, you just got paid the other day by a couple of jobs. Where's the money? And I would come up with some excuse using my grandkids. Well, I bought food for them, which I didn't. Or I did something for my wife, which I didn't. And so I would say, I need some money to put gas in the car. I got to go to work for the rest of the week. And all that would be a lie. And so she would know something, but yet I would start pouting. I'm 100 years old, but I'm still pouting to my mom. And so she would pick up on the phone. I said, well, the grandkids, they need food. There's 6 of them there living with us. And I knew she had a heart for the situation I was living in. There was 10 of us living in this house. And so I knew she had a heart for where we were living, and so she was sympathetic to that. And so I used that. I manipulated that situation in order to get money. Of course, when I secured the money, I didn't use it to food or gas or anything. I would use it for drugs.
And those seem like very reasonable things to ask for, right? I need to eat.
Yeah.
If I need to get to work, I need to get to work. Or if I need you to call into my job to tell them I'm sick, I can't come in. They all sound very reasonable. But the problem here is that once we're aware that our loved one is in an addiction mode, if they have addictive behaviors, and we're trying to help them, we have to consider all of our choices being long-term, not trying to get a quick fix, not trying to come in and rescue them for the moment. Let's say they get thrown in jail, because of their habits and their behavior. Instantly, we want to go and bail them out. We want to help them out, right? It seems like the right thing to do. If I love them, that's what I'm going to do. But if you have your boundaries set and you realize that long term, that's not going to really help them, then that's the way you need to go. That's the way you need to go. We're going to take a little break right here. And when we come back, we're going to discuss my own personal experience with codependency.
And my temptation to be that codependent.
God plays a great role for me because when we get up early in the morning, when we do worship and we open up our day with God, the rest of the day goes good, But when we don't have God and when we neglect and push God away, then we don't have a great day. But most definitely we need God, and most definitely I need Him every day. So without God being in DAP, I don't even know what it'd be a DAP because God is the most important component of DAP.
I live in a home and love is pouring out right where I'm at. And it makes me feel more blessed every day that the care is there for me, which it wasn't like that before.
When I first came to DAP, I was surprised about the place that we were going to stay in. It was I did not expect the place that it was like a house setting. I did not expect the furniture, the TV, the dining room. I thought it would be more like a clinical setting, like a bed, a place to like a convalescent place or something like that. I did not expect the house, like a neighborhood setting.
What I look forward to the most is most definitely always going to be seeing lives change because that's the reason I'm here, and that's the reason I want to stay here and do what I do because I get enjoyment out of it when I see people's lives are changed, because that's what it's all about as Miss Harris always say, you know, God got us together to do service, to do His work. We are His hands, we are His eyes, we are His mouth. So, and I get enjoyment out of that, is to give back, to see someone else's life change just like mine was.
Well, all the different things that I would like to share that I see the donors doing, and I've been involved with DAP for 15 years, and I've seen a lot that the donors have contributed to many lives, allowing men to get their relationships back with their families. By them donating to DAP, they allow us to grow spiritually, physically, mentally, with the counselors who are able to come because they can afford to have good counselors because of the donations. The equipment that we have that we're able to get out and work and to help pay for the stay here in DAP.
I just want to go back to being a student or working or just being a productive member of society. I'm looking forward to finding out whatever's left of my gifts that I haven't diminished or completely squandered. I'd like to not only be a participant, but also a spectator in my life, you know, and seeing what extraordinary things God could do with me and do with my life. I'm excited to find out, you know, what He can do.
My name is Pierre.
My name is Duncan Yangao.
My name is Marshall Davis.
My name is Savas Leon. My name is Leonard Walsh.
My name is Frank Celis.
My name is Brian Brockway.
I'm from Seattle, Washington.
I was born in the Philippines.
I was born in Matsuno, California.
I'm from Florida.
I'm from Hesperia, California.
I'm from South Bend, Indiana.
I'm from Seattle, Washington.
I am a client at Drug Alternative Program.
I'm Lonnie Shattuck. I'm a 2000 and a 2010 graduate of Drug Alternative Program.
Welcome back. We are going to continue our discussion of codependency. And I'd like to encourage you, if you have a need, if you know someone, if you are possibly in a situation where you have set your boundaries and you need to get someone help, please give us a call. We can help you, and they need help. So, Renee, tell us a little bit about your experience with my addiction.
Well, you know, it's really, when you love someone, it's really tempting to do all of what you were talking about earlier in the program, to give that person the benefit of the doubt, to tell them that I know what you're doing, but you know, the only way to help you is to just keep giving you, keep ignoring. But with us, I knew, and I'll be honest with you, I don't remember how I knew, but I knew that it wouldn't be helpful to you to enable you. When the time came for an intervention, I remember during that intervention saying to you, I love you and I would take a bullet for you, but you can't stay here like this. And if you don't leave, I'm leaving. Somebody is leaving today.
I remember.
You remember?
That. I remember.
You have to get help today. Because I knew that there was no way that you would stop. You weren't the daily user, but even those out, what did you call it? Out missing in action. When those times happened, they were destructive. And I love you too much to let it go on. So I have never been a really good enabler. I've not been codependent, and I thank God for that. I don't take credit for that. I guess He just gave me the wisdom.
Amen. And one of the things that you said that's so important is that you loved me, and your actions of love were helping and not enabling. In other words, you saw the long term, and you knew that I needed to get help and not just continue in my behavior and just rescuing me so that I can go on and continue to do what I was doing.
Right.
So, yes, I remember that day very well. One of the things I want to ask Frank and Pierre, ask you guys is, at what point did your loved one or family member, did they get it and finally get you help? How did that come about? Pierre?
Well, I've been out for 16 days. And my pops told me, I came home, I was broken, I had nowhere to turn, and I still knew my parents did love me, but I knew I was at the end of my rope. I had used, and all the shame and guilt was keeping me from, I was hiding, I didn't want to see anyone, but I had to do something. I didn't want to live on the streets. I knew God had something better for me. So I finally picked up enough courage to go home and face the music with my mom and pops. And he says, I'll help you. I'll do anything for you, but you got to get some help. No more rescuing, no more money, no more this or that or jobs. You have to get some help. I'll help you get some help.
He finally set those boundaries.
Set the boundaries. And so he said, make that call. And I knew the only help, the real help was only DAP, Drug Alternative Program. And so he said, hey, you come on inside the house, you get some food to eat, but make that call. And he waited until I make that call. And they watched me make that call.
Very good, very good. What about you, Frank? What did your family, did they came to that moment of help?
Most of the arguments were because I wanted my way, and they did not want to let go of the keys or the money. So what happened that weekend that I came here was that there was a funeral. My aunt had died, and mostly every member of my father's side of the family are Adventists, and they were here for the funeral. So my wife took it as an opportunity. I had been asking for help, and she took it as an opportunity to create an intervention for me. So at the house of my uncle, where they had the reception after the funeral, they once again took the keys away from me, and they had already talked to Mr. Harris, and they said, this is your opportunity. And so everybody there, male and female, they're all my relatives, crying and pleading with me to take the step to come to alternative drug program and change my life. And here I am.
That's very good. That's very good. Those are two examples of how we can be helpful as a loving and an addictive person, and moving them towards help, moving them towards getting the help that they need. And sometimes we look at these situations and people struggle for long periods of time with the addict because they're not willing to bring them to the point of, you must get help. And that's very, very important. The rescue is always temporary.
Yeah.
All the rescue does is prolongs the point to where the consequences of their addictive behavior have not had a chance to really take them to the bottom. And sometimes our loved ones say, well, I don't want him to be homeless, or I don't want him to be on the streets, or he's going to be hurt. But the thing is that those are the consequences that come along with drug addiction.
And they need to happen, don't they?
They do need to happen.
The consequences need to happen.
And the sooner they happen, the closer that individual comes to being able to see, I need help. I don't have anybody anymore to rescue me, because all rescue does is puts me back on my feet so I can continue to go on in my addictive behavior just long enough so I can go out and score again, get me another hit, another drink. And that's why rescue doesn't work. It doesn't work. And we have to understand, as the loved ones of addictive people, that it's the help that they need. They need to know and understand how that help has to come as quickly as possible. And it comes by setting those boundaries. Just like you did with me, dear. You told me in no uncertain terms that this could not go on. The situation that I was in and that I was putting on you could not continue.
Right.
And you even, I remember very clearly your words, you told me that you couldn't do it anymore and weren't going to do it anymore, and that either you had to leave and get something done or I was going to leave. That's what you told me.
That's what I said.
And that day, what
That's
happened?
what I meant.
And what happened that day?
You left. You left with Mr. Harris.
On the spot.
On the spot that day. I didn't know what I was going to do, and that's probably a story for another show, but I knew that it was the right thing. It was hard, but I knew it was the right thing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Praise God.
So if you had to give some advice to someone who is in our audience that needed to know how to handle that loved one that's addicted, what would you tell them, Frank?
Set those boundaries. The person may not understand at the time the help you're really getting to them, but once they get sober and Christ in their life, they'll thank you for it, because that's what I do every day. Thank God and my family that they had sense enough to make those choices for me, because I was in my right mind doing them. So they made those choices for me, and I'm here today because of that.
Good. And what would you say, Pierre?
I would say to those parents, the moms who really love their sons or daughters, to set, like you said, to set those boundaries real quick. Don't rescue them. And love doesn't mean, it's not hateful to tell them to get some help. It's still showing them true love. It's tough
True
love.
love.
True love.
True love,
To let them know to fall on their face, but I still love you, but here's the help. That's the best thing to do.
That's the best thing to do.
The sooner the better.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that this has been helpful for you guys and also for our audience to know that codependency doesn't have to happen, but you have to know the keys and the tools to make it work right. Help is what they need. Help is what any addict needs. He needs to be moved to a point where he can get that help that he can't do for himself. You can't fix him. You can't control him. But if he gets the proper help, he can be set free by God's grace. Give us a call. Give us a call and give us a chance to help your loved one.
And remember to avoid being an enabler or codependent does not mean you don't love your loved one. It is totally loving to be helpful, even if that helpfulness seems punitive, even if it seems hurtful. It is the very thing that you must do. You must open the door and say, you have to go and get help.
And remember, we love you.
And Jesus loves you even more.